Hi,
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is it Megan or Megan? How do you say your
Megan.
Megan? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am excited about this. And we've communicated before by
Yeah.
email. So yeah, I'm interested to hear the whole story. So thanks
Yeah.
for coming on.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
so if you've listened to the podcast, you know this is the whole thing. We got an hour
Mhm.
and we start from the beginning and we go as far as we can with what's going on. So maybe you could start it out and kind of introduce yourself and what you're doing, what you're up to, what you're hoping we can work on.
Sure. So my name is Megan Cannon. I'm the owner of Back to Balance Counseling and Consulting. We're located in the western suburbs of Chicago. So one of our locations is in a very affluent area in the western suburbs. And so we specialize in helping high achievers, overwhelmed parents, anxious teenagers who are trying to find, balance, confidence in their life, and we specialize in trying to help them find relief, as quickly as possible. Whether
Mhm.
it's, anxiety, OCD, perfectionism, executive burnout, or postpartum struggles. Our team is
Mhm.
heavily trained in empirically supported treatments, and we're always here and ready to help.
That's great. Now, do you work with people in person or by Zoom or
We do both.
telephone? You do both. Your
Mhm.
primary focus is bringing people into, you have physical premises that you bring people
Yes.
to.
Yes.
What's the breakdown of the percentage kind of thing of people that come in person versus come by Zoom or on the telephone?
Yeah. I would say 95% want to come in person.
Okay, perfect.
That's something that's established during the intake call. One of the
Mhm,
first questions that, our leads will say is, it's
mhm.
not telehealth, is it? You know,
Right,
so yeah,
exactly. They want to come see somebody. Okay,
yes.
this is great. So that really makes it kind of, you've got a closed kind of system. How far, kind of like a 5 mile radius, is that the ideal for you?
Yeah.
How far do people travel if we were to take all of your existing, do you call them patients or clients or what's
Yeah, we
your
call them clients.
clients? So
Yeah.
if you took your existing clients and plotted them on a map, how far kind of flung are they?
I would say the vast majority would be within 3 to 5 miles of our locations.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
population within that 5 mile bubble there?
Like, how would I describe them?
Yeah, no, well, just the volume, the number. It's pretty densely urban or
Yeah.
densely suburban
Yes.
populated, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And so if we know that, I always love to take and think about creating a prospect vending machine.
Mhm.
That's the main thing that you want, right? Is to generate more clients.
Yeah, especially ones that can come in during the day.
I got it. Okay. How much excess capacity do you think you have? Like if what could you how much capacity do you have, given your existing infrastructure, the kind of thing? How many patients or clients are we looking to add?
So I think there's a couple components to that, right? Because I'm still in the process of growing my team. So I would still like to be able to hire probably five more full-time clinicians.
Hmm.
I also have the office space currently to support that. So
Uh-huh.
I would like to be able to maximize, our office space. So we do have room to grow, but because I'm trying to do the math like real quick, like, on any given month, we're running more than 1,000 sessions,
That's fantastic. Good
you
for you.
know, and
Yeah.
there's room to grow in that.
So if we look at, and I love that you know that, if we were to overlay
Mhm.
this of a before unit, during unit, after unit on your business, if we were to say of all of the people that you've helped in the last 12 months, how much of the sessions, let's call it, because that would be a great way to find somebody who's an active client, is how many of the sessions are with people who are already clients and continuing to come back or are referred by somebody who's an existing patient versus new patients that you found in the before unit? in the last 12 months?
Sure. So I would say, and again, it's likely dependent upon whether or not we have a new team member. But if we
Hmm.
have a new team member, I'm pushing really hard to get them as many new leads as
Hmm.
possible. So right now we're in this spot of I've been searching for the latest team member for quite a few months now. I haven't found it. So we're in this spot right now where not many of us really have many openings as is. So
Hmm.
where we are, currently, on a given week, we might only have two brand new clients. If we had more clinicians on our team, we would potentially have an opportunity to have, 20, 30 new clients in a week,
Hmm.
which is what
Okay.
I'm trying to get us to.
Yeah, perfect. And is it difficult to find people to work with you? I mean, in terms of getting new, do you call them counselors? Is that your,
Yes.
or yeah. So is it difficult to find counselors?
It is what ones that, have the appropriate soft skills and
Mhm.
knowledge to be able to be in front of a person for an hour at a time and that have, the clinical foundation and clinical skill set to be able to navigate that, in a way that matches, our brand and our reputation within the community that has been challenging.
I guess you're not hiring like new people, fresh,
Right.
right? Like you're hiring people with some proven track record and
Mhm.
some experience. So if we were to look at your before unit and say, what's the most predictable thing that you do to generate new clients? Have you got something that we can just run this, turn this on and it works?
Well, I guess if we look at where most of it's coming from,
Mhm.
most of it is coming from, probably a combination of four things. People naturally finding our website,
Mhm.
referrals from current or past clients, social media, as well as our referral partners.
And you saying like formal referral partners, is that would be other professionals that are refer.
Yeah, yeah, so it could be other people, in our field or other people that are in, I guess, just what I call adjacent fields who might
Mhm.
be people that need, help with different.
Who would be the best kind of referral partners in the fourth category there, right? Like you're,
Yeah, yeah, probably doctors and psychiatrists.
mhm, got it. I'm very curious about the referrals. I read when you filled out your scorecard, you were mentioning about the referrals from patients. Like you kind of mentioned that you're their best kept secret kind
Mhm,
of
mhm.
thing, that people are not publicizing it on social media or they're not inclined likely
Right.
to talk about it. But they probably, is that a viable avenue that people refer somebody in confidence or their closest friend or their inner circle type of things? You should talk to Megan or,
Yeah, because we'll pull that information during an intake call.
yes.
We'll find out, who referred you. And I have a phenomenal admin team, and they'll push a little bit further, like, oh, who
Okay.
specifically,
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
referred you. And we do like we'll get a lot from that. We're very
Hmm.
fortunate and certain clinicians on the team, they'll create a lot of self-generated, some more so than others,
Hmm.
and then some people might say on a call, oh, my neighbor's son sees this person and it sounds
Hmm.
like that person could be a good fit for my daughter. That's why I'm calling,
Hmm.
a lot of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Perfect. And
Mhm.
that's probably a lot of it, right? Is loved ones referring to other people who are trying to get help for a loved one
Yes.
more than it's the direct person. No,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So one mother telling another mother rather than one actual client telling another client. I
Yeah.
get it, that it's
Mhm.
once
Mhm.
removed from the thing. That's a very interesting point. One of
Mhm.
the things that I notice of the four that you mentioned, they're all sort of, profit activator number one in the before unit is to select a single target market. And that's a proactive, the distinction is that you're doing the selecting rather than positioning to be selected.
Sure.
And a lot of these things like social media, the organic stuff, is all sort of doing the things, putting yourself out there so that you potentially can be selected by
Mhm.
people when they find you, right? So
Mhm.
if I were to add this proactive mix to it to say, if we could pick the specific types of people that you can help, what would be kind of the most right in your competency there, right at the things that would be your dream client, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I always love this question because I do feel like this daytime component of it makes it a little tricky. You know,
Yeah,
the world of therapy is largely a 4 p.m. or later field.
yeah,
I do,
after work or
right.
cut out early for
Yes.
him.
And I do know that, there is a need, obviously, and there are people that can come during the day. And I care, like very like deeply and passionately about my team and the people that work here. And I want to make sure that they don't have to work a bunch of nights for the rest of their life, right? So we're really trying to figure out how can we acquire more of these daytime leads so they
Mhm,
can have more balance in their lives. I
mhm,
hate to see somebody working 4 evenings a week
mhm,
want to. They're great at their job. We can't reach these daytime people as much as we would like. So
mhm,
to answer your question, I wish I knew a little bit more of like what is the makeup of a daytime person, right? It could be a college student, could be somebody that's working from home, it could be a stay-at-home mom, it
mhm.
could be somebody that's in a C-suite position that's able to sign on during their lunch hour. People with OCD is that's a
Yeah,
specialized niche that we have. So those people are more likely to bend their schedule to accommodate ours if that's when we're available. Does that answer your question?
it's getting there. I mean, you're kind of, you're thinking about the mechanism, kind of, the daytime appointment is really, I think what I was asking was the need or the outcome that people come to you to
Mhm.
seek,
Yeah.
like if you were to say what, regardless of what time of day.
Yeah.
But if we do take moms, if we do take, you know, I imagine if you take that category of moms with kids in school or stay-at-home moms, or there's so many people who work at home, there's a lot of that. So I think
Mhm.
overlaying would be a good thing. But what I'm very curious about is what would be the trigger that causes somebody to seek you out? Like, what is the outcomes that you're most able to help people achieve?
Yeah.
Who would
Yeah.
be your dream clients to work with, kind of thing?
Sure. So I would say many of us on the team, right, our goal is to work with individuals on changing the relationship that they have with their anxiety. So
Mhm,
often people think, all right, I have anxiety. I just want to get rid of it. Somebody tell me how to get rid of it. Give me a pill so I can get rid of it. So
mhm,
part of our approach is really educating that client to come to the point of understanding that they can't get rid of it, but we're going to help them change their relationship with
mhm,
it. And in doing so, we're going to work with the client to identify, all right, what are the things that are actually important to you in your life? What is it that you value? And we
mhm,
have to begin to work to make sure that the behaviors that you're choosing to engage in every day are
mhm,
actually aligned with your values. Are they misaligned? And do we have this incongruency between what you actually want and value in life and what
mhm,
you're behaviorally
mhm,
so I think that people come to us. I know our approach is slightly different because we're very like nitty-gritty and hands-on, and we'll be writing
mhm.
a ball and really in it, with our clients, and we're able to present it to them in that different way.
How long is a typical engagement with you? Like if you get a new client that you start to work with, how long do they typically stay? And what's your pricing model and what's the value of a new patient or a new client
Yeah.
you get?
So the length that somebody stays in treatment, it's so different. There could be people that are here for 3 months, there could be people that are here for 5 years, there could be people that go to therapy for their entire life. So we do accept, insurance, and we're also, we have a self-pay model as well, where
Mhm.
each session is paid for as the client, comes.
Mhm.
But the length of therapy is so wildly dependent on the individual, and
Yeah.
their circumstances, their presentation when they come in.
But it's also knowable from your last 12 months. Like it's also, I know you can't, it's hard to say, predict what is going to happen with a
Mhm.
new patient that comes in, but it's
Yeah,
also equally easy to see what did happen with the
sure.
current roster, right? If you look
Yeah.
at, and
So
do you
to
track
answer
that?
Yeah, so to answer that question, every member of our team has an 85% or better retention rate, and I consider retained 12 or more sessions.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And that per session, or do you offer block type things, or is it, how do you charge? Is it like a per
There's
session?
just a fee per session that's
Okay,
charged.
okay, great. So if we look at it, that do you, if we were able to create a client vending machine for you and say, I want an OCD patient who wants to come at 10 a.m. or between, during the day between 10 and 3.
Yeah.
Uh, if that's the case, if you could think that, how much would you cheerfully pay to push the button? If you think about a vending machine, we put you see the glass and you see an OCD patient up there,
Mhm.
option 1A. And
Mhm.
we go over and we see that 1A, if you push that button, they're going to pop out and be a client for you.
Mhm.
How much would you cheerfully pay to push that button?
Yeah, so you're talking so per transaction?
Yeah, I think if you look at it that way, right? Like you look at the danger sometimes with the pricing models of professional service is that they base it on overhead and the profit margin, like whatever the labor is, but there's not often a cost of acquisition built into the pricing structure. Because all of these things, you don't have an actual per se cost of acquisition when you're doing the organic things or referrals or
Right.
social media or professional referrals, because not only is it not standard, it's forbidden to pay
Mhm.
for referral, right? So you can't have a cost
Right.
of a referred thing. So
Yeah.
it's all just your cost of delivering the service plus whatever margin you run on, right?
Mhm. Yes.
But is it do you think, does that allow you, or do you have a mindset around that of what you could afford to spend for acquiring new people?
Yeah, I would probably spend, and again, if I'm off, tell me, because I think the way you're
Mhm.
phrasing the question is interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Right.
But I'm thinking, all right, would I pay $100 for a token to go into
That's what I mean. Yeah,
that vending
exactly.
machine?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would.
right. And so a good way to think about that is, you know, a lot of times people who are starting into running advertising or running marketing to acquire new clients are really they're taking, the distinction that I make is between a slot machine and a vending machine. And a lot of times people put money in the slot machine of, oh, you got to do YouTube videos or you got to do social media or and they put in the money and you pull the lever and hope for something to come out, right?
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
distinction between a vending machine, of course, is that you put the money in and you get exactly what you were looking for, right?
sure. Yeah.
And so another way of kind of approaching at that number is if let's say that a clinic or some insurance company or something said, we want your clinic to be the official, we're going to send you all of our OCD patients, our
Mhm.
clients, or all of our insert the thing there. And
Sure.
we imagine that we're going to be able to send you, you know, 100 clients over the next 12 months, let's say.
Mhm.
But if you think about it like that, would you be, if it were allowable, to offer a discounted service or a bulk pricing model, or because of the certainty, like you're going to get these patients? It's a good way to kind of wrap your mind around it. If the referral fees were allowed,
Sure.
would you be willing to pay for because often when you say the $100 token or whatever is kind of there's still this tinge of uncertainty around it. Like you can see that you're not wrapping your mind around like the certainty of we're going to send you 100, but
Right.
instead of 100% of the pricing, we're going to need you to offer it for 90% of the pricing or 80% of the pricing or whatever. Much room would you have in your margin, or would you be willing to accommodate?
So are you saying lowering the cost of service to
I'm
get the,
saying if you're, yeah, like not to, as a percentage of the service, if you were saying like, if I'm able to, if they removed the law that said you can't
yeah.
get referral fees, and I'm a clinic and we need somebody to specifically work with people with OCD, that's outside of our purview or whatever. So we're going to send them to you
Mhm.
seamlessly. You're going to get a monopoly on all of our OCD business,
Mhm.
but we'd like a 10% referral or a 20% referral, or where would you kind of be able to draw that line? What would that look like? And it just as a thought exercise to help you kind of think it through, you know?
Yeah, I would probably say 8%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little less than 10.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, little
Okay.
less than
Perfect.
10.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn my lamp on here because we have some storms coming in. It's getting a
No problem.
little dark. Okay.
No problem. There we
Yeah.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 8% of the value, right? Now, this is where the thing then becomes the reason that you're willing to spend the 8% is that it's after you get the 100%, right? So you're gonna get the client for $100 and you're gonna send $8 back to the referent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of is easy to wrap your mind around. Now, what I need to get you thinking of is how can we proactively, as a capital investment, make that investment into identifying people who have exactly the need that we're talking about here, right?
Okay.
So if we were to say in this 5 mile bubble of your ideal geography there, top, what would be the top things that if we were to isolate the reasons people come to you for counseling, what would be the most common or the ones with the most need?
So that would be anything under the anxiety
Yeah,
umbrella, right? So we have anxiety, social anxiety, phobias, OCD.
panic, all
Yeah,
that.
panic, yeah, all of that. Another one would be teen anxious teens, perfectionistic teens, high achieving teens and adults, executive burnout.
Executive burnout. Okay.
Yeah, executive burnout, that would be a big one. Postpartum concerns and
I was
OCD.
gonna say the same thing. I was wondering because if thinking about your daytime, that could be it, right?
Yeah.
Postpartum, anything parenting related, right?
Yeah, and then I don't remember if I said, oh yeah, the OCD would fall under the anxiety umbrella.
Uh-huh. I didn't hear anything about like relationship or marriage counseling type
We
stuff.
don't provide that.
You don't provide that. Okay. Did you say ADHD?
I did not say that.
Do you do that or no?
It's one of those things that seems to not be anybody's favorite thing, at least on our team.
Right.
Because so much of it,
Yeah.
at least from our experience, is
Mhm.
kind of contingent upon behavioral change for the individual client really kind of needing to have a conversation with their prescriber and really figure out, do we need to have medication added into this mix? So sometimes I feel like we can only go as far as we can go. So it's not something that we advertise as being a specialty of ours, but is everybody on the team well equipped to deal with that? Absolutely.
So with the parenting, the relationship stuff, you not like with specific issues, but not with the like family counseling or the relationship
Right.
dynamics.
So we don't do like couples counseling,
Yeah.
family counseling.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So the postpartum is really like something that is different around that or stress from parenting
Yeah.
Tell me
But I
more
think
about.
on the flip side of like the postpartum one is like we equally see a ton of really stressed out dads,
Yeah,
that are like the sole breadwinner. And like
yeah,
I said, we're in an affluent area,
uh,
they come in, there's like the weight of the world on them,
yeah,
like
uh-huh,
that's a big population that we serve
yeah,
as well.
yeah. You think about that, right? Like, so I mean, I think about that could be because each of these target audiences, right? Like if you think about the high performance executive who's under a lot of pressure and under stress and that kind of thing, I think you look at, and that's been popularized too. I mean, you think about The Sopranos. So Tony Soprano, went to see the counselor, or in Billions, how Wendy
Yeah.
Rhodes, they go and
Yes.
see those kind of things. Is that the kind of thing that some of your counselors would offer, like high performance,
Yes.
like proactive, like not solve a problem, but be better?
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Many of my clients have referred to me as Wendy Rhodes. They're like, you
Okay.
be the next.
Okay, good. So that I would lean into that in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Mhm.
so the good news is if we think about and isolate these as the potential target audiences, the thing about it is that you have invisible prospects,
Okay.
meaning you can't, it's not like you're targeting chiropractors or you're targeting somebody who's out there and you can't tell who's walking around with anxiety. There's not a list of those people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the things that you can do though is you can get in the neighborhood where they are in terms of this. Social media is the perfect thing. Like Facebook and Instagram are
Mhm.
the people, are the ways to reach just people in that 5 mile radius.
Yeah.
And so, and you can target them by age, by, by demographics, whatever would be, like you could have a different thing for, you know, 40 plus men as a thing. And just know that by virtue of being in a high income area, that many of the men are going to be in that area, right? So
Sure.
one of the things that I always recommend is to start the conversation where they are. And
Hmm.
so we look at, like, if we take anxiety as an example, and that applies across the board to all ages and any male or female, right?
Hmm.
It's a good, easy one. But if you were to have a book that was offering kind of the first step of this. Like, so I work with a podiatrist in
Okay.
Milwaukee, and we created 5 books that are about the 5 big things, the reason somebody would come to a podiatrist. So the first one we did was the plantar fasciitis solution.
Okay.
And so we ran ads 5 miles around his clinic offering the book, The Plantar Fasciitis Solution. So who's going to download that if it's not somebody who is suffering with plantar fasciitis or is sitting beside someone who's suffering with plantar fasciitis, right? So I would look at that same thing here of what would be the title of a book that somebody with anxiety would definitely want to have in their collection. When you think about this as a way of starting the conversation, right? Even if it was stop your panic attacks, or stop anxiety, or ending anxiety, or the anxiety solution, or anything that offers hope
Yeah.
and information that somebody could easily accept before they would ever look proactively to go out and search Google for help
Sure.
or to consider it. They're just, and I've got a couple of friends that go through and have panic attacks, and they don't know when they're coming on or how, but they haven't done counseling or they haven't done anything about it. But if they saw an ad or saw a book, you don't even think about them as ads. We just think about
Yeah.
them as you saw and something coming through your news feed that
Mhm.
offers a solution for this. That
Mhm.
is the fastest and easiest way to now get a visible prospect. You've turned
Sure.
an invisible prospect into visible because they're leaning forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that,
Absolutely.
yeah, so you're starting to think that it would be a high probability that somebody who's interested in a book on stop your anxiety would be the right person
Yep. Motivated.
for, yeah, for you. Exactly. So now you're communicating. I love to, I think you have so much more opportunity by email and when you have a visible prospect to move people in a direction of getting help, whether it's in the next 100 hours. Maybe
Sure.
they're like sick of it. They've had this, they want to do something and get rid of it right now. But maybe it takes 100 days, that maybe, 60 days from now, they have another panic attack and that
Mhm.
triggers them over the edge and they're going to remember, man, I need to reach out to Megan, or maybe it's 100 weeks. But
Mhm.
whatever it is, the odds are that over the next 100 weeks, if we got 100 people to download a book on stopping anxiety and we got those for, let's say invested $500 to get
Mhm.
100 people to download a book like that.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
we just nurtured a relationship with them that we've been top of mind. We're the one, now they know that you exist. You know
Yeah.
that they exist. You're very helpful and engaging, and you're sharing stories of, even redacted, but
Sure.
stories that are of people who have had this experience or outcome.
Mhm.
um, you know, I think there's some magic to that. That would
Yeah.
be a very high probability pond to fish in, you know?
So with the example of the podiatrist that you
Yeah.
gave, then the podiatrist becomes an author.
Yes. Uh-huh. And
Okay.
that's something, and the great news is that, they're not big books. It's like a 50-page book
Yeah.
about a very specific topic, right?
Hmm.
And so we did the plantar fasciitis solution, we did the toe fungus
Hmm.
solution, the Achilles heel,
Yeah.
and I forget what the fifth is, but there's, the big five reasons why somebody would
Sure.
come to a podiatrist, right? So imagine that you look at the, OCD, if somebody like very specifically, OCD is a big thing. And that's, so somebody who, especially a parent or grandparent or somebody who sees those tendencies in a child or grandchild is gonna, everybody's like grasping, they see it more than the person, more likely that they will seek out to intervene and get help
Yeah.
for them than they would do it themselves.
Yeah, because they're tired of dealing with it too.
Right, exactly. And so I think that's a big thing, of being able, especially if you pick the avenues, like if that's the entry point into something. Like that was what I said about the podiatrist was, the number one reason people come to him is plantar fasciitis is the initial thing, right? So
Mhm.
that's why we did that book first.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I look at that as, filling those things out as
Mhm.
a great way to look at it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking too, if you do that, then you end up with, kind of some evergreen content as well.
Oh, that's the whole point. That's
Yeah.
exactly right, right? That you're building this out. You want to think about it, that you are building, 100-week kind of nurturing system, that everything I do is kind of based on some research and my own personal research that finds that the original study found that just over 50% of people who inquire about anything will buy what they've inquired about within 18 months,
Okay.
but only 15% of them will do it in the first 90 days. So 85% of the value of generating inquiries about some or generating leads is
Yeah.
90 days or more. So I think about it as stocking your pond, right? Like you just get, if we're trying to find people who have anxiety and want help with it, if we could build a list of people who self-identify as interested in anxiety resolution, right? That, and we stock that pond with 100 of those people or a
Yeah.
thousand of those people, whatever it is, however many there are in the 5 mile bubble. We just need to get you 5 mile famous for that particular thing.
Yeah, because that's what I'm after. I'm after world domination and
Ah,
in 5 miles.
that's right. Well, tell me
Yeah.
about your clinic goals too, though. Are you, do you have goals to replicate that in other 5 mile bubbles? Are you building this as a model that you can duplicate, or are you just focused and you only want to stay in the western suburbs?
So we also have another location
Oh,
and it's in a very much rural, so
mhm,
I am trying to duplicate what we have in the western burbs out there as well. And
mhm,
obviously a lot of things are very different, if not opposite, because we're dealing
mhm,
with two totally different demographics. But I know that there's such a significant need for the
mhm,
service in the more
mhm,
rural areas because there's just such fewer options. So to answer your question, like, yes, I am trying to duplicate it in our second location
mm,
as well. I don't see myself doing more beyond that, because
right.
I still like doing the client work, myself, and it just there's only so many hours in a day.
I get it. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
And it's exciting. I love to see somebody so focused, it's such a nice thing to be so clear on what
sure.
you're trying to do, and that ultimately you're helping people, and that's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
So I look at that. That would be the playbook that I would recommend for you is, looking at that. Like, I think that's the easiest thing,
Okay.
would be to just become. Have you ever done any Facebook ads or done, you have. So, and what's
Yeah.
your experience or what do you advertise?
So if I'm going to be fully honest, do I know how to create them properly and optimize them properly? No, I try my best,
Okay.
but overall, it's been a good experience. I've never
Yes.
written a book though, Dean's.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I own a company called 90 Minute Books,
Okay.
and that's exactly what we do is help people write short, lead getting books. That's really
Oh,
what it
okay.
is. Like what I discovered about it is that in order for the purpose that we're talking about, you're not trying to write a New York Times bestseller.
Right.
You're not trying to, write a thing. What I realized in this thing that books are the number one thing that generate leads, right? It's the
Okay.
easiest way. Like
Mhm.
that, the plantar fasciitis thing gets leads. It's easy, right? And you get exactly what you're looking for. But what I discovered in this process is that people don't know or care whether the book is 50 pages or 250 pages when you're running an ad for it. They don't
Mhm.
care how long it took you to write it
Yeah.
or how carefully you slaved over you know, the
Right.
the third sentence of chapter
Yeah.
4, right? And you got it just right. Nobody cares about
Yeah.
that. The reality is people are not generally reading books anyway. The most important thing is that it's conditioned as a thing that when I read there was an article in the New York Times about the state of readership. And
Okay.
what was fascinating, this is when the Kindle and Kobo data was available, so they could see what's actually happening when people buy
Yeah.
books. So I may be off by a couple of percent, but directionally we're in the right ballpark that
Yeah.
58% of the people who buy a book never open it.
I believe it. I'm surprised it's not higher.
Exactly. And I thought that's amazing, right? But I say that and it sounds high to people. But then every time I'm in a group of people, like speaking in an audience, I'll say, has anybody ever bought a book and not opened it? And every single person has a whole stack of books they bought and never opened. And what I realized in that is that we're not actually buying books to read right now. We're buying books for future Megan. That
Yes.
present Megan is co-opting, she's getting the squirts of dopamine for
Mhm.
having done something for
Yes.
future Megan without having to actually do any of the work.
Mhm.
I don't have time to read right now, but future Megan, she'll have time to curl up with a book and read,
Yes.
and she'll appreciate this, right? So you get the sense of accomplishment that you did something without having to do anything. That's why webinars don't perform as well as books on a lead generation thing because I don't have time to watch a webinar right now, right? But if I
Yeah.
can get the squirt of dopamine by getting the book for just leaving my name and my email address, that's a good win. And I don't even have to type in my name and email because Facebook has done it for me. I just push the button and say, you're sending this info. Yes. And
Mhm.
so it's the biggest win, right? So what I realized does matter is that you've got to have a title that as soon as your ideal audience sees it, they say,
Mhm.
that's the book for me, right?
Yes, that's
And you
key.
gotta have the book. And
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter if it's 50 pages. I look at that as what's a minimum viable book, is
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's a on the Facebook ads, we're doing ebooks, digital PDFs anyway, but we
Yeah.
also have physical copies of them, which are nice looking, paperback books. So
Sure.
that's what you have to have, and you have to have a way for them to get it. Those are the only three things that matter. So
Yeah.
that's why I've focused on helping people, write these kind of books. And we do it all by interview process, right? You already know all the info. It's
Sure.
all in your head, but we've just figured out the fastest bandwidth way to get it from your head into a digital format is
Mhm.
for your mouth, is you talking about it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we can do it in 90 minutes. We set up a process to kind of do the outline, get the chapter titles and the talking points, and then
Mhm.
set up the interview. And we treat it like a radio show, like you're a guest on a radio show, and everybody in the audience is your ideal client. And we just go through prompting through the whole outline. And at the end, we end up with enough content to create the book. And
Yeah.
it works magically, right? It's very fast. And
Yeah. It's
so
interesting.
yeah, so that's the thing that I would recommend for you is
Okay.
to start stocking your pond with
Mhm.
people who reach each of those things. So if it were anxiety as one level of the overriding thing, or OCD, or postpartum, or whatever the words, like part of the thing of picking the book titles is recognizing what would the direct user have, or what would be the loved one or the parent, what would they respond to
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. We have to stop the scroll.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. That's why the format of it is so, we just put the big, we use all the visual anchors of the visual scroll is literally the cover of a book, a 3D book cover
Yeah.
and we use nice, easy to read graphics with a title that is compelling, right?
Mhm.
Know immediately, oh, because that's the first thing that's going to stop. Then they'll look above to read the caption. They're not starting with the caption, they're starting with the image. Then they
Sure.
read the caption. We just use very few words, and the button says download. And
Mhm.
that's the best way. I've seen it. We have a brain fog book that um, we're getting leads for 65 cents per
Wow.
lead. I mean, it's crazy, but
Yeah.
it's such a prevalent thing
Mhm.
among 30 plus women. That's who we're
Yeah.
targeting on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I
So
guess how do you know when you need to move on from a strategy? Is it just, you monitor performance and as soon as something just isn't giving you what you want, you kind of got to go back to the think tank?
I think I'm 100% results based, right? So I always look at, is it working? And so I look at the core thing is that the only purpose of the ad for me in most of the cases is to identify an invisible prospect. So get somebody to leave their name and their email address. And so to the extent that it's not doing that, it's not like we only will test, we'll do $100 test for
Mhm.
$20 a day for 5 days, 100 hours. We
Yeah.
basically will do that test. 100 hours, $100. And that's gonna get the different time, frequencies that people in your 5 mile bubble are logging on in your target audience. And I'm only looking for the winners, right? Like you can't hide a winner. It's gonna work in the first $100.
Mhm.
It's not.
Yeah.
And that's so you're either the greatest thing is that we're looking, you know, beyond, we can eliminate an ad if it doesn't work, or if nobody responds or the leads are too expensive, then we move on
Yeah.
because it's not going to get better typically. But if it's winning in the first $100, that's typically going to continue to win, over the period of time. And
Yeah.
if it's kind of middling, then we kind of evaluate and look and say, how can we make some improvement in it? But that's the general idea, is that I look at that and you can test to see which ones are the best, like you could even start out with doing just a TED Talk type thing, right? If you just did a 10-minute thing about just the talking points, like
Yep.
basically the outline, a feature article about the kind
Mhm.
of thing. And you can have the title and the cover and see
Yeah.
whether people are attracted to that message even before you go through the process of writing the whole book. You might just record, and transcribe a listicle kind of, or,
Sure.
the outline of your stuff or suggestions or insights around that thing.
Yeah.
Because the only thing we're really interested in seeing is, are people attracted to, can you get people with anxiety to raise their hand and tell you they've got anxiety, right?
Right.
And that
Right.
was I had an interesting, there's a guy in Toronto that came to my Breakthrough Blueprint event before Christmas there. And it was very interesting things. Does energy work? Like that's primarily his thing. And he was, he was interested. We did a thing on the joy of anxiety. And his model was that he likes his order of things that he talks about is, energy leads to thoughts, leads to actions, leads to outcomes, right? So when you're promising, like, you stop your anxiety is like treating the symptom of the thing, which is a great way. And we had the conversation about that's a great way to start the conversation, but going backwards is, he looks at it that, the conversation of, is the glass half full or half empty? He looks
Yeah.
at the half empty glass as the opportunity to experience joy, that you've got, that you can fill this and you're going to feel the joy of it. So
Sure.
it's enough of a counterintuitive thing that it would, get people's attention, right? Like,
Sure.
joy of anxiety, what's this about,
Mhm.
so it gets you the same outcome,
Yeah.
gets you in conversation with somebody who is self-identified as interested in some way about anxiety.
Yeah. That's a great idea that he came up
Mhm.
with. It's a very good
Mhm.
idea. Yeah.
So I think that's would be like the easiest next step. And by the way, when you have a book, like that's
Mhm.
going to be able to increase the referrals that you get, because now you're able to say to people, hey, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about anxiety. I just finished a new book called
Mhm.
Stop Your Anxiety. If you hear anybody talking about it or any loved ones that are going through it, give me a
Yeah.
call or text me and I'll get you a copy of the book to give them. And
Sure.
that is a great way to get people, rather than them, a lot of times when people think about driving referrals, the instruction to people is, don't keep us a secret, like tell your friends to call us, or we're more than happy to help your friends. But it's positioning it as them doing something for you. And the real magic of getting and orchestrating referrals is to position it as something that's going to make them look good, that
Yeah.
they're going to get the status and the good feeling of adding value for someone they love as a thoughtful person who got this for them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Being the hero. Yep.
So give a friend is much better than refer a friend, right?
Sure.
That's so
Yeah.
anytime you can kind of lean into that environment. And then of course the instruction is they're going to call you or
Hmm.
text you. And now you're in conversation. Well, tell me about your friend. Would you like me to send the book to them or I can send it to you? Would you
Sure.
like the three-way introduce us? How can we get Linda the help that she needs? Because now you're working together because you both want the best outcome for Linda.
Yeah. I like that idea of
Yeah.
give a friend rather than refer a friend. I like that. I haven't thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know your stuff, Dean.
Oh my. Well, do you want to? I'd love to hear you kind of unpack your thoughts or what do you call it clinically, the wrap up or
Oh,
the
yeah.
recap here. What
Yeah,
did
get the
you
clock.
what
We
did
have
you
we have
hear
2 minutes
today?
left, right?
Yeah, what did you hear today, Megan?
What's the takeaway for the
Yeah.
day? What's your golden nugget? That's what I say to my clients. What's your
What's
golden
your
nugget that
golden
you're
nugget?
gonna take away from the day? It's I really like the idea, right, of being able to have the right tagline, right, to stop the scroll. I'm gonna have to give that quite a bit of thought and out every single bad idea that I have, and hopefully one
Hmm.
star, comes out of that. But I think also like giving, right? You got to give, whether it's the book, right, or whatever it is,
Mhm.
to kind of establish that sense of, I guess it's a combination of credibility, but also being able to normalize the experience for the client. Like, hey, you're not the only one that's dealing with this so much so there's an entire book,
Right,
that
that's exactly right.
yeah, that's
Yes.
being
Yeah.
pushed out there. And the good news is that there's something we can do about it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know that I can do this. I just
Mhm.
have to structure my, day, weeks, months to push this and make this become a top priority
Mm.
to get this done. 'Cause I know that I can do it, right? And talking it through with you, it seems tangible. Yeah.
And it would have so many, I mean, having the book as a resource has so many great outcomes, like has so many, it gives people a frame, like you must have a framework for it, an approach, an underlying kind of way that you approach anxiety.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice way to kind of amplify the thing that you're doing in the sessions, right? Like they're able to come to it with this understanding, or they're able to go a little deeper. And it
Yeah.
also helps you give a contextual frame to the nurturing content
Yeah.
that
And
you're
and
able.
many of my clients over the years have asked me to write a book, and it would be cool to be
Mm,
like, hey, we have this little thing that I can now, now give to you, so that would be an added benefit too. Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Any last questions or anything that was unclear?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate you and your time. You're easy to talk to, and I know what I have to do. I just have to do it.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can help you whenever you're ready. That'd be
All right. Thank you.
fantastic.
I
Okay, man.
appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.